Well, g'day everybody. So total confusion here, but anyway, we're here, and I've just got to do. We just took a call, strange call from an entrant in the race a couple of minutes before we're due to go, and we lost the contact. So if it comes back again, I'll probably have to kill this live. And go from there because they sounded a bit funny, and yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. But anyway, having done that, we had to reboot the system, and I just realised I haven't pulled up the tracker screen, so I can't even show you that. So I'm going to share it now, and I'm not sure what's going to happen to this live link because I just saw it when I went to where's the tracker. So I'm going to do that right now, and I'm not sure what you're seeing, but anyway, I'm now just sharing the live tracker, and I've got that back there so I can bring that to you in a minute. Yeah, it's ready to go. So no real big news. It's a grey overcast day here in Les Sables d'Olonne, and the funny part was I found out a little bit more about this epic feature film they're filming here down on the marina with all hundreds and hundreds of people. It's amazing to watch. Anyway, it's got something to do with a murder. It's like a murder mystery or something. I don't know exactly what it is, but murder is in the title of the movie. It's not about a Vendée Globe story or anything like that, so it's a bit of fun. Anyway, and I asked Jane just before he came on, what's the latest on the tweets, Jane? Because I've been very busy this morning. In fact, I'm so busy I nearly forgot this one. Because so she's putting the tweets up, and I said, "What's the deal?" I said, no, there's nothing happening. All they talk about is food and roast chickens." And I said, who's talking about roast chickens? Apparently, it's Explorer. So anyway, it's always a good thing when the tweets are getting a bit average because it means everyone's settled. But I'm not sure what that phone call was about. Anyway, moving right along. So nothing to report on any big deal news. Oh, well, in the office, we're planning the New Year's Eve party and another Whitbread reunion in Auckland, and trying to work out the logistics of what's happening. So, and also looking at the stopover in Cape Town, because it's kind of interesting. Some of you are probably already figuring the boats are going to be very tight on the turnaround, and we're just using Explorer as an example. And if you heard the SoundCloud with Mark yesterday, he's thinking they might be there on about the 2nd, so it leaves a 3-day turnaround, and that creates challenges in itself for that boat, and some of the others will only be there a few days before. We've got various functions and things happening, and the reality is we can't and we won't change the start date. The start date will remain on November the 5th because there's lots of other logistics things that happen around it. And one of the interesting ones is as soon as we clear out of the office, the Clipper fleet's coming into Cape Town as well. So Robert Johnson's Clipper fleet, they're great mates. We love Clipper and all that sort of stuff. And as soon as we're finished the start day on the 5th, we bulk and they come straight in. So one of 3 round the world yacht races going on at the moment, which is all good fun. So anyway, let's have a look and get straight onto the tracker. There's some interesting things going on for sure. The view is very stretched, and I know why that is. So I'll just get on here and I'll get rid of that, which will make it a bit bigger. So the first one I want to talk about, we've had a few family and friends call us and say, oh, what's going on with Outlaw? Blah, 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 blah. Because when you look at Outlaw, they're proving to do some amazing things. First of all, they're doing negative 29 nautical miles in the last 24 hours, and they currently got a boat speed of 6.8 knots, so that's good. And it's showing distance to the finish at 4,000 nautical miles. Now, how can that possibly be? Well, I just come back to this whole thing about velocity made good and vector made good on the course. This program that we're using now is from Yellow Brick. We didn't have a budget to do our own custom software and develop our own tracker. If we did, it would have cost us about well over 100 grand to replicate this and just do it for our race. We don't have that kind of budget, and we're very happy to be using the Yellow Brick program, but it's not dedicated to this type of event. It's a little bit modified. So Outlaw is now an extreme case, but see this red line down here? That's the rum line for the course. And we actually use that to predetermine and calculate some of the aspects of the statistics. And so here's the rum line. We estimated roughly where the fleet would go, to about here in the middle of the Atlantic and then come around. So the boats that are holding close to that, their statistics are reasonably accurate, okay? And if you do a distance check, for instance, on what's the length of these courses? Well, I can add this up. There's 1,500 near enough, and there's another 1,500 near enough. So there's 3,000 miles. And then if we come up here, there's nearly another 1,000 miles. So from there, that point, that's nearly 3,000 miles from the finish. Okay. And then if we come out to Outlaw, there's about another 800. So it's completely distorting the way that Outlaw is actually going to get to Cape Town, because if you just go straight like that, it's only about 2,500 miles to Cape Town, completely different. Now, there may also be in that lot an element of error, but the other thing I want to now just show you is how do you get to negative speeds? Well, again, the distance rather over the 24-hour period, it's got partly to do with the idea and the general concept of the boats heading down this way at the moment. They got to head in this direction as part of the rum line. Now you can see clearly that not only is Outlaw not heading in this general direction, to give you some statistics, she's actually moving even away from the line. So that causes part of the distortion. We'll talk to Yellow Brick again, but it does make it difficult when you're going out on a blinder here away from that rum line, and I'm not sure we'll be able to do a lot about that, but you can certainly do your own statistics. You can measure it from Outlaw to Cape Town. You'll see they've got about 2,650 miles to go, and you can work out their average speeds. You can say they're doing 6.8 knots, so they certainly haven't gone backwards, but it does distort. I think that's the best explanation I can give for that. So we're certainly, if we had the budget, we would probably do our own very technical, diverse tracker. But at the moment, we're doing the best we can, and we're very happy to be using the Yellow Brick system. So, but there are some statistics that get a little bit crazy. Also, sometimes, and you'll see this at different times, there is a glitch. So if you see Explorer doing 5.5 knots 1 minute, and then she's only doing 1 knot, it could be the weather or it could be a glitch. So best to wait for 6 hours or something, or 4 or 5 hours, and wait for the next position and just see what's happening. So don't despair. And we try to do the best we can to keep up with it, and generally it's pretty good. So coming back to the tail end of the fleet, we've got Godspeed doing 5.9 knots, 90 miles in the last 24 hours. Doesn't appear to be much of a breeze there, but it's certainly swung around because you can see they've altered their course a bit. So they might have some challenges there because there's a southerly flow already kicked in. And if we come forward for 24 hours into tomorrow, you can see the wind's coming around, so it'll box the compass, so to speak, push them forward, and then hopefully they'll hold that breeze a little bit before they enter the calm. So that's 1 day out. There's 2 days, still a bit of a breeze, so they could be looking okay. So I'd say they're going to probably have another 2 days of 100-mile days. That's the best. Quite happy to see Explorer finally on the move, because previous 4-hour position, they were doing about 1 knot, probably while they were cooking their roast chicken or something. No, that would have been too early in the morning. Anyway, but they're now moving 5.5. They only did 49 miles in the last 24 hours. Not a lot. They're one of the lowest in this back end of the fleet. If we look at Sterner, Sterner's doing 5.1 but did 99 miles. So, nearly double the distance of Explorer. White Shadow, 6 knots, 93 miles. Again, double the distance. And Galliano with Secure, 6.4 knots, 97 in the last 24 hours. So they're all doing about 100 except for Explorer. And Evrika over here only did a 59-mile day. That could be partly because they're sailing away from the mark, similar to Outlaw, because they're still showing higher average speeds over 4 hours. Got at 6.1 knots. So I think there's an element of that there as well. And it's pretty clear, it seems to be, that the trades here, the southeasterly trades, are coming up, hooking around, creating a bit of a southerly there, and they're sort of getting into it. In the past, all the other entrants said, just when they think they're getting it, it just dies away again. So it's yet to be seen. But I'm happy to see Explorer moving at 5.5 and on starboard tack. That looks like about the right wind direction. So maybe they can hold there. So let's see what the wind's doing in the next 24 hours. There it is there. Okay, it's suggesting it's holding. So if that's the case, that might be 100 20-mile day or something, or 100-mile day. And then by the next 24 hours, there's a big hole. So I'm just going to play with Explorer a bit here. So if they get 100 miles, they're going to get bogged down again. They're going to get this calms again. Everyone else will be sailing, but it might be that tomorrow, after a day, Explorer might not be far enough ahead to hold into this, but the others certainly will. I'd say they're all on a roll now, and it'll be yet to be seen how far Explorer moves further behind. But there you go. So, and certainly the others up here, they'll hold that breeze. Neptune, 7.4 knots, 115 miles in the last 24 hours. So they'll be happy with that. They've locked into the breeze, come across. They're sailing straight down the rum line now. So they would absolutely be liking that. Triana, 7.5 knots. They hardly ever sail under 7 knots, which is, that's just the nature of who they are and what they're doing. They're driving really hard. I have absolutely no doubt about that. And 172 miles in the last 24 hours, 6th in line honours, 5th in IRC, 1st in adventure class. It's hard to believe they're in adventure class because everyone else is so far back in adventure class. Anyway, the Spirit Equipped, 7.7 and 164 in the last 24 hours. So that's pretty cool for them. And I don't think that's not got the right breeze shadow there. I was 2 days ahead, but you can see they're well and truly in the trades. And here they're not southeasterly. That's more an east-southeasterly. So that works in their favour and lets them hook around on the course a bit. So that's all good for them, and there'll be no change. I mean, I'll show you what's going on just to show. I wouldn't think there would be much change. Maybe getting it a little bit lighter. There you go. Prove me wrong. Generally speaking, though, Neptune, Triana, and the Spirit Equipped are going to be okay. So come back to today's weather. And this is interesting. These guys, I think they're pushing hard. Maiden's pushing hard, 6.9 knots, holding out to the east, trying to hang on to their easting as much as they can. And that puts a bit of pressure on the boat, I'd say. If that wind direction's right, they're just cracked off a little bit from holding hard on the weather. So life on board will be on 45 degrees, or not quite like that. It's probably 20 degrees or 25 degrees or something, but not the usual situation. And it's hang on to the ride a lot of the time. When it's like that, you just got to go to your bunk, or if you're out on deck, it's okay. But if you're off watch, it just depends. But Maiden's, much more of a flyer, flat bottom boat than some of the Swans. So it should be pretty stiff. But anyway, who knows? A bit hard to predict. The pictures are always great to get off the boat. That shows you a bit about it. 8.5 knots for translated, 186 nautical miles, last 24, and Maiden had 125. So they've got translator's got 186. So translator definitely picking up there, still holding first in IRC, first in flyer class. So, performing really, really well. Got some good sailors on that boat. Not that the others don't, of course. We've got to be careful what we say all the time. Anyway, Spirit of Helsinki still trucking along, 8.7 knots and 252 nautical miles in the last 24 hours. That's quite fairly moving. That's moving particularly well. 252 is probably the fastest in the fleet for today, but we'll see what Penduic's doing in a minute. Second in line honours, third in IRC, and first in Sayula class. So doing well. Penduic, 9.2 knots, 174. So I'm starting to think, why has Helsinki got 252? I'm not sure what's going on there. I hadn't followed their hourly averages previously, but mainly they're doing okay. Penduic has paid off a bit, and you can see what's going on when you see this color coming. The wind's getting stronger, the sea's getting up. These guys will be in 3.5 meters, I reckon. Let's have a look here. Yep, that's 3.5, and starting to pick up into 4 meter seas. And Helsinki's not there yet, so not only would Penduic be cracking off a bit, he would be having to cope with these waves and all the rest of it. So this wind is picking up. When they get the orange color, it's about 28 knots, gusting, maybe 32, 35. Seas would be starting to break a bit. Not dangerous, but just wet. and so there'd be water all over the boat. And you can see now, if this wind direction is right, they're taking on the beam, so they would really be powering along. That's why they get showing an average of 9.2. Loving the conditions. This is exactly where he can stretch his legs and go for it. So all very good. Let's see what the weather holds here for the next. First of all, before we go, to see if anyone's bucking a current. Helsinki, they've got a current pushing them along, and Marie's pretty average. Translated, maiden on their side. No one else is really worried there. A little head current for Neptune, and Explorer's got a bit pushing her sideways. So, yeah, that's the only currents, but we'll go back to the lead fleet. Here we go. So that's what they've got right now, and we will push this out for 24 hours. Yep, starting to pick up. So you can see here that orange band coming across, second day. There's about 24 hours. No, it's just holding. So it'll be solid winds, all developed by this big high. Now let's just have a peek at that and see if it's doing what was looking like previously. So there's the fleet up there. This is the South Atlantic high, which is actually quite low, because if we look at that, it's on 40 now, but it was actually really low. It was down here, not much over 50 when it was forming. And so it's pretty low at the moment, but becoming a bit more traditional. So there's 2 days into it. We'll just go to day 3 and see what happens. Yeah, it's moving slowly to the east, which is what it's meant to do. So we go to the 8th. That's day 2, starting to squash. So yeah, so they're that's just, it shouldn't go any lower here until it comes over this way and then scoots down. But that's fine. All these boats here in this lead pack, they can just drive down the tail end of this, and then so nothing's going to change. Drive it through, and eventually Penduic will get down here at the calm, but it looks like pretty good. That's until the 11th. Oops, and then there's the challenges starting up again. So this is the 11th, and I'll bring it forward exactly to the time of day. Where are we? That's near enough. That's near enough. It's the 11th at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 7 days. So that's about 1,300, say, for Penduic. 1,002, jeepers. Yeah, okay. So it'll be interesting to see what they pick, because there's 2 centers here. There's a center of the high, and if they're getting the GMDSS forecast, they don't see the picture that we've got, but they'll be given the center of the low, the high rather. They'll be told the high is about here, and they'll make their plans on that. Probably keep driving towards the center, and then at the last minute, when the winds start to die, sail around the back edge here and keep going. Sort of, that's what you do. But then there's this one here that they'll call this a low pressure cell right next to it. So they've got to imagine how those two are interacting. I don't know whether they'll get a weather fax yet. They may pick up a weather fax, but I doubt it. So there's some big decisions, but that's about somewhere in here is about where they could be when we're looking at this type of weather. So, and you immediately think, oh yeah, they could be up here going for it, which is exactly right. And if they are, they're really cutting the corner, which is a good thing if you can get away with it. So we come through the next day, that little low's gone. So then there's headwinds. So you can see if you're approaching this way, you've got headwinds, you'd be tacking. Not a good thing to be doing, but anyway, it's a little bit far out to tell. That's 9 days away. 9 days, Penduic will be down here somewhere. Battling. So if we then come across to the leaderboard, I'll keep this going a bit just to see what the ETAs are suggesting. So we go line honours. Yeah, we'll leave it as a line honours thing, and we go for averages from the start. That's an overall average speed, and Penduic is suggesting the 19th of October. Originally, we were saying he could be as early as Marie could be as early as the 16th of October. 16, 17, 18, 19. I doubt whether that's going to happen now. I really think it's this confusion here is going to kick in a bit, and it's probably more likely to be the 17th or maybe even the 18th. But too far to call. And we won't even talk about Explorer, but seeing we're here, 6th of November. That's not too bad. So, okay, that's cool. I think that's enough for me. I'll quickly come back to the comments and see how that's looking here. Morning from Ireland. G'day, Paul, Plymouth, and Caprice. Can't wait to see the boats come into Auckland, New Zealand. Me too. Hopefully, Steinlag will come out to meet you also. Yeah, I hope so. She's available for charter on start day, by the way. They've got a great organisation there. You can read all about it on the program, which you can read as a flick book on the OGR website. We've got a piece in there about Steinlager and Line New Zealand, the sailing trust there. It's an amazing thing. It was great to see Pippa at the Whitbread reunion in the MDL Marina there, Ocean Village, in the UK, because she lives there, and we're hoping to have some connections with all the various things that happen around Steinlager and the late Sir Peter Blake and so on in New Zealand. So we'll look forward to all that when we're there. It's a great operation they have. Oliver, g'day. Who's leading the race at the moment? Oh, well, Line Honours. It's Line Honours. It is Penduic, and IRC. It is Translated. So you can see all that on the leaderboard. G'day, Marcel. I forgot to ask why some boats have their anchor still on the bow. Oh, jeepers. Sounds like the sort of thing that Explorer would be doing. I'm not sure which boats that might refer to. But usually, yes, the anchor is stored down below, a little bit further aft to get the weight out of the bow, and the chain is plugged off, and just so that you can pull it out in an emergency if you have to. But when you're so far out in the ocean, you don't need it. So I'm not sure who that refers to. I'm certainly going to go and look at the pictures of Explorer now and see, just for the hell of it. But that's the only answer. Okay. There's the French one there. Hello. Well, the suspense. That means loves the suspense. And passionate stressant a la foils. So, Ada, what's this? Oh, anyway. Have a look at this. Something about foils. I think. Hello, like the suspense. What's that say?
Quel suspense et passion et stressant à la fois. It's so beautiful and so much stress at the time.
So much stress. So not comparing the foils on the mocha boat.
No. Okay. It's about the stress at the same time.
Okay. Yeah. And believe me, I mean, it's fun watching the Atlantic legs, but wait until leg 2, 3. Wow, it's going to be high pressure. So, hi, Diane on the chippy. I might drop in and fix the squeaky door. Someone's complaining about a squeaky door, Jane. Right, we're going to get some oil. I'm going to get some oil and fix that. But then again, if we don't have the squeak, we don't know who's coming in. Anyway, did the original Whitbread have boat classes and IRC type ratings? They used the old IOR handicapping system, which was very interesting, but it died a natural death because the system they were using was managed by a committee again and so on. And then people obviously want to optimize their rating. And so the designers had to distort the boats. And in the end, a potentially hot IOR type boat was being not necessarily the best type of sailing boat that you'd actually want to own. So it died a death. And since then, there's always this play on what's the best handicapping system. But certainly IRC at the moment is the one that's sort of pretty reasonable, and that's why we're using it. So I hope that makes sense. You can Google that and you can learn all about it online. Trevor, g'day from Ventura, California. Donna team, it looks like Don will get his wish with some of the fleet splitting the course. Yeah, it's good. It's good to see some go down the middle for sure. Outlaw have done -29. Yep, I tried to explain that, but it's not easy to explain, but just try and live with it for now and do your own measurements and calculations. 2,600 to the finish, doing 160 miles a day. You can work it out. Actually, an Outlaw, mate, it'll be very interesting to see what happens there. Hi, Annie. What happened if Explorer arrived in Cape Town after the 5th of November? We'll still be there, but they're going to be very busy. And they have to do a quick turnaround. So technically in the notice of race, and we've discussed this before the start, just after the start, so we're not doing anything just for Explorer. You have to arrive at least 4 hours before the restart of the race, or you may face consequences. And the reality is that we've told all the entrants at the briefing before the start that just keep coming, don't give up just because you don't think you can make the restart in time, and we will assess the boat and the crew to determine whether we will let them continue. And the reason is that you could have two boats arriving at the same time late, and one boat we might knock out and the other boat we might let go, because there'll be reasons for them being late. And if one of them is the boat's falling apart and it looks unsafe, or whatever, we might say, oh, we're not happy with that, and maybe you shouldn't continue. Whereas the other could be just bad weather and everyone's slow, and everyone is markedly slower than the original 73 Whitbread. And also, I'll just remind everyone that we asked for a routing plan from all entrants on their expected ETA into Cape Town, and a lot of them are not making their plans. And then from that information, we set the start times, for the legs. So this one's a bit of a bummer by the look of it. And some of the boats are going to have short time in Cape Town. I don't think Explorer will arrive after the start, but it's they're only going to have a few days. Okay, that's it. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow, and have a good day. See you.